One thing is sending an employee a birthday card, old-fashioned card through the mail with the gift card or something. It just changes the dynamics. It might be the only card that they got, but you'll get the text message that says, "Oh my God, thank you so much for the card and the gift. It was so thoughtful." I mean, I get those every day. Those things make a big difference. And I do that with customers. I do that with business partners because it's a way of staying on top of mind without selling.
Hi, and welcome to the From MD to Entrepreneur podcast, an inside look on how to become a physician entrepreneur. Frederick is an award-winning author, speaker, and top sales executive. In this podcast, we talk all about how to create superfans. You'll enjoy how to do sales and how to make it fun and not something that you always dread. Hey, Frederick, how's it going?
It's going good, Pranay. How about yourself?
It's going well. It's going well. I'm very happy that we're able to connect. You talk about super fans. This is really the one thing that all businesses need. They need raving fans. So I'm super excited to be able to talk about how to get more of those. And it's not only, people that are going to buy your product, but it's the right people, right type of people, the people that you want to work with.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. The idea of super fans and why I called them that was if you think of a sports team and you think of the fans that have their faces painted and got the banners, the jerseys, the hats, those are super fans for that team. And, if you think about it, is the team paying them for that? No. Are they making money off of the merchandise? Most likely, yes, in a big way. But these people are excited and they're promoting and they're happy to have the bumper stickers and the stuff to advertise the thing. So the idea came is why can't a small, medium, or large size business turn their customers and their employees and their business partners into their own business super fans promoting that particular business? And I wrote a book on it.
Awesome. Awesome.
That's how the book came about.
So for people that haven't had a chance to check out the book, could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes. So I've been I start off, do the super executive version. I started off a long time ago in the 70s doing drafting. And for those that remember the 1982 Ford Escort, I'm the guy that designed the spot weld guns that welded the body panels for that car. And I had to do a lot of 3D geometry to make sure that the weld tips went perpendicular. I got selected in a company to learn computer-aided design. And after about a year working for the company, I learned about some opportunities to work for the actual software developers. And so I put together a resume, I got hired, and I did training and then software demonstrations and all that stuff. And then eventually I got into sales. The company was looking for people inside to become salespeople. And I raised my hand and got picked. And I was very fortunate. I got 6 months of sales training from some high-end companies. And I've been in sales since 1986. I've won some awards and I worked myself up to being in charge of global sales, where I was given, here's the product description and nobody knows about it, and go put it on a map and make sure it sells globally. And so I became known as the guy that kind of comes into companies and takes a product or service and grows it. And that's my story.
And sales is something that a lot of us struggle with. And so how did you start learning sales? It's not something they teach you in school. Where did you go to learn, and kind of what is your foundation of being good at sales?
Well, as I had mentioned, I was fortunate. I got sent to schools, so I went through Wilson Learning. Was a program. I went to Dale Carnegie and a couple other classes. I don't remember the name off the top of my head, but some high end programs, that I learned sales aspects. And what I really learned was solution selling early on. But as I got better in sales, I evolved into looking where a company, wanted to go in a few years. So I stopped selling the product. I was selling, basically when I really started to take off, I was selling manufacturing software. And at the end of the day, they all do the job. This one does that widget, functionality better. That one does this functionality better, but they all get the work done. Otherwise, they wouldn't exist. But where I differentiated myself is I would sit down with the owner of the company, it was tool and die shop, for example, and talk about, okay, where do you want to see yourself in a couple of years as the business, and what are some of the challenges, and how can you see technology help you? So I wasn't selling anymore. I was really kind of talking about where they wanted to go and how tools, aka like software, manufacturing software, would help them achieve that goal. And so we never really got into, can it do this functionality and that functionality versus this guy functionality? Those were never part of the conversation. So, there's three types of salespeople. There's a product salesperson that just sells a product. This is my widget and this is what it is. There's the guy that's a solution selling. And then there's the top guys I look at is basically consultative selling, where they're talking about business strategies, and you're just providing tools to accomplish those strategies.
And do you think that you can sell the same thing with each of those different sales types, or does it depend on what you're trying to sell?
It's good question. It's your depends on what you're going to sell, because there's transactional type products.
Hmm.
But at the end of the day, whenever you've walked into, let's say, a Best Buy, and someone comes by to you and asks you about a TV that you're looking at, they usually try to talk to you about oh, you're looking at this TV, great TV, blah, 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 instead of, you know, why are you looking at a TV? Is it something, do you have one? Is it you're not happy about the existing one? What kind of movies you want to watch? More about you, and it's versus, because a TV is a TV. I mean, you can go LG, you can go, Sony, you can go, Samsung. There's a multitude of different TVs. So they all provide a video, but if you learn a little bit about what that person's objectives are, you can steer them the way you want to.
Yeah, I tell our salespeople that if you get down to numbers and specifications, you've probably already lost a sale.
Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. Yeah, I never get numbers. Numbers is the last thing I talk about. And usually it's when we're signing up the paperwork.
Yeah, because people aspect ratios and how many pixels and all that stuff. Like, can
Irrelevant.
you really tell between 101,000 pixels and 100,000 pixels? You can't. It's people are putting up roadblocks along the way, and you're trying to appeal to the rational mind, but the rational mind is not the one that makes decisions. Actually, the emotional mind is the one that makes decisions. Like, hey, if you have this TV, it's going to say X about your lifestyle, that, maybe you really care about your family. It's big and, it has good gaming. So you care about your son, or, something like that.
And
But
that's why
if you're,
but you got to ask questions, like we're saying.
yes,
You got to
yeah.
ask questions. As a CEO of a company,
Hmm.
they're interested in basically three questions. What's it cost me? What's it going to do for me? And how much and how fast am I going to make my money back, and what my profit's going to be? That's it. They don't care if it's blue, green, purple, whatever. It's what's it going to cost me? How much? Well, how long is it going to take me? What's it going to do for me? And then how long is it going to take me to make my money back and have a profit?
Yeah, as a leader of a company, it's like it kills me when people put me through this long sales process. Like, just tell me how much it costs and what I need to do. Like, I'm ready to buy. don't put me through. Okay, now think about what impact this is going to make on your life. I was like, I understand sales. Like, don't put me through this long sales process. Like, I am ready to
They
buy.
gotta be agile. They gotta be agile.
Yeah,
As a
yeah.
salesperson, you have to be agile because you got to know, okay, you know what? The
hmm
next, shut up, move on to the next thing.
Yeah, yeah. I had this fitness coach that I tried to hire. Um, I was like, hey, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to pay. And he made me fill out this 30 question questionnaire. And he's like, it's just to see if you're willing to do it, right? If you're motivated. I was like, if I'm giving you this much money, I'm gonna be motivated, But you're
Exactly.
right. You have add agility, right? It's different. You can't have the same sales process for everyone. So there's people that are busy or they're decision makers, and you don't especially on kind of the lower rung of sales, it's almost like a template, right? You're going down this path when it's almost like one of those. You remember those books where you had to pick a different way, and you're like, go. If you decide to go left, go to page 42. You know, that's what they need, not a template like uh, a flow chart that people go down.
Well, absolutely. I mean, I remember years ago, I was selling in Chicago. I was selling to a railroad car manufacturer.
hmm
And, we went through the engineering department. I was selling, again, engineering manufacturing software. And we got, okay, now we got to go present to the CEO. Well, walk into this office, huge office. He's got the glass. I mean, I'll never forget it. Glass wall. It's got a helo pad right off outside the wall. So this guy is like big leagues. And he doesn't even get up from his desk. He looks at us, looks at his watch, and goes, "You got 5 minutes." And shut up. And so, I started my presentation because I was up first. And I looked at my watch and it says, my 5 minutes are up. And I had wrapped up my conversation. He's looked, smiled, stood up, and he goes, okay. He continued the meeting because of the fact that I had enough wherewithal to recognize his 5 minutes and say my time was up and I finished what I needed to say at the 5 minute mark.
So
And I
one
walked
thing.
out with the $150,000 sale.
Awesome. Awesome. So you mentioned getting to know what the person that you're trying to sell to, and that's important. So how do and it probably doesn't matter exactly what you're selling. How do you get to know what the person wants? Because, a lot of times they don't even know what they themselves want.
Well, good question. And that's a good segue into superfans
hmm
because what I'm going to share created my first superfan. This guy named Bob, and I won't mention his last name, he was in charge of a manufacturing company, a tool and die. He was the IT guy. And as I got to know him, I started asking him what his aspirations were. Just like I mentioned earlier, looking about a CEO where they want to grow their business. Okay, now he's an IT guy. Where does he see himself, in a couple of years? Well, it turned out that the company is looking to acquire additional companies, and he wanted to be the primary IT guy in charge of all the technology in all the companies and sub companies that this company was going in that direction. So I sat down and says, okay, let's put out a plan and let's help each other out. I need sales and you need the technology to accomplish what you want. And, and then when he was going through a divorce, who was sitting having beers with them, listening to all his challenges? This guy. And he became my biggest business super fan because he would recommend other companies. He would provide testimonials. He would give me referrals of other businesses that could needed our technology. He helped make my fastest sale, which was 30 minutes for a $60,000 sale. And the funny part is we were, back then we had to, carry big PCs and monitors and all that stuff. And so we had a big cart and we were wheeling it into this company that I got referred by Bob. And the guy says, I don't need to see any of this stuff. He goes, Jack, the owner, um, told me I need to get this. So what's it going to cost me? And how fast can you get it? So the 30 minutes was putting together the configuration of the stuff. And then I used their fax machine to fax the order to corporate. and it was done in roughly 30 minutes. And it was because my super fan referred me, and it was a done deal because, you know, super fans are basically selling on your behalf. And that's the important aspect of it.
And so it's not something, there's no trick, there's no thing to say. This is a relationship that's built up over time. And that's so important. We're these days, we're always looking for the quick hack or quick tip on how to shortcut a lot of this stuff. This, especially this first relationship, and probably most of them, were years in the making.
Well, it's years are making, but it can also be really short because, see, one of my quotes in the book, so I'll
Hmm.
hold it up so people can
Yeah.
see it. But one of my quotes in the book is that human beings, irregardless of what color, what religion, anything stuff, it doesn't matter, will crawl through broken glass for appreciation and recognition. Tell me I'm wrong.
Yeah. It's yeah, it's funny. Well, not funny, but surprising what people remember, especially when you're gratitude. Remember one of my last days at a hospital I worked at, a nurse gave me a bottle of wine and said I was so nice to her because I work nights, and
Mhm.
most of the times when nurses call doctors at nighttime, they're not very happy about it. But she was like, "Oh, you walked me through it, and you were so nice about it." And for me, it was just another
Appreciation,
day, but
recognition, and gratitude.
yeah,
It's the
yeah, and she
magic.
remembered it for years.
Yeah, it's that's why I say people will crawl through broken glass for appreciation and recognition because they don't get it. Somebody goes about does a little something extra, people take it for granted. And one of the things that I talk about in the book is the fact that there's people that talk about customer engagement, customer retention, and all that stuff, and they're experts in it. But if you stop and think about it, that's really a silo.
Mm,
Because it's not all aspects of the business. It's one aspect. It's the same thing when people talk about employee motivation, engagement, and retention. That's really another silo that they're talking about because it's not how businesses really operate. And nobody ever talks about complementary business alliance partners, as I call them. And a simple example is, excuse me, a painter and a flooring guy. They go
mm,
together.
mhm.
Okay. But in reality, in business, they're all intertwined because if your employee isn't taking care of your customers aren't happy. It doesn't matter what you do. And then if your employee is the painter who goes to do the flooring guy's referral and does a poor job painting, now it looks bad on the flooring guy for recommending you and also bad on your company. So that's a double negative. So they're really all intertwined. And what I talk about in Business Superfans is really how to convert those people into, business superfans for your business that are happy to promote your business, that they tell all their friends and family members about the business because you've recognized them on a birthday. You sent some kind of appreciation. You expressed gratitude for something that they've done. The unexpected extra where they go above and beyond. Those are really important things that in turn motivate people. And now they want to be sharing and talking about your business because they're excited. They feel worthy of it.
You mentioned it all being kind of a coherent or holistic strategy. Could you talk about some of the things that you've seen in your experience for making super fans out of your employees? Because one of the biggest issues right now is keeping people and bringing on new people in terms of hiring.
All right. Very good question. Um, so a couple of things. One is we people need to do a better job of recognizing their team because bottom line is no employees, no business. I don't care who you are. Yeah, you started the business yourself, blah, blah, blah. But now you got to a level that you have to have a team that's to support the business. And if the team walks away, you're out of business. End of story. Just like that. So one is appreciation. showing gratitude to them, um, recognizing them in front of everybody. So, if I turn around and says, Pramar, thanks a lot. Really appreciate your effort on this particular thing that you did for me. All right, you feel good, right? I recognize you. Now, however, if I change it and says, hey, everybody, I want to take a minute to recognize Pramar here. He was really helpful and really important in all this particular project. And it was, he really worked his butt off. And I want everybody to thank him for his contribution to make this project a success. How do you feel? Night and day difference. You edified that person and make them feel, wow, in front of everybody else. And what you've just done is not only you make that person feel really good, you just made the whole team realize that, wow, they really care about us. I want to be that next guy. And it changes the mindset just like that into where everybody's going like, wow, that was really cool. This is a cool company. And it just catches. And once you get that vibe going, then it's your job to keep the flame going so that everybody's fired up and everything else. So, it's taking time out for someone's birthday and having, lunch brought in and recognizing the person for their birthday. Posting something that they, posting on social media that employee was a contributor to a particular project or, helped make something successful. Those kind of things, we've lost a little bit of that over time. We kind of moved, I see a lot of companies have moved into, well, I gave them a job. They should be grateful to have a job, and I'm sure you've run into companies like that. And that's not a good environment. The environment is where there's synergy and energy and everybody is working together. And we don't, it's not, oh man, it's lunchtime. I got to take my break or I got to take it's break time. Talk to me after the break. The mindset changes is what, wait a minute. All right, what do you need? I'll take the break later, because it's got that energy.
Yeah. And there's no cost to that, right? It was just changing your mindset a little bit and encouraging people to, do better and do good.
Yeah, but it's, again, you got to appreciate, got to recognize, got to express gratitude, got to say thank you. And it can't be artificial because artificial is see-through. People see through it, they'll feel it, they'll know it's just BS. But if it's genuine, it says, really appreciate you spending, working last night on this particular project. I'll share a story real quick. And this is where I learned it from. Is we were preparing for a large demo of a particular product. And for a particular company and showing how the software would design their product. So we were making sure. So it was like about midnight. We're still at the office because the demo's next day. Our manager came in with pizzas and beer and sat with us, had pizzas and had us all have a beer with them. And true story, I know the guy, Tom V is his name. And we were just floored. I was like, here he is, spent 45 minutes with us and told us, okay, you guys, don't stay up too late, but I know you guys will, but blah, blah, blah. We did the demo the next day. And when the demo was done, it was like a Thursday. He goes, all right, I'll see you guys Monday. We all, what do you mean? He goes, you guys deserve it. Get out of here. Go, bye. And I still talk about it today. And that had a profound positive impact. And that's how I've treated my team members in the same fashion. And that's created super fans of my employees about my management style.
Yeah, we just finished a deal recently. We do real estate and we buy big apartment complexes. I made a video thanking everyone, but not just, by name, but what specifically they added to each product and the difference that it made for us, right? So one person handled all the customer service and how thankful we were that they were able to get all these emails answered so quickly and, so on. And we also did, I called it dessert hour because, not everyone drinks. So we didn't want to do happy hour. So we ordered pies and cakes for everyone. And we did, our team's fully remote. So, everyone just hung out for an hour virtually and everyone loved it.
Oh, sure. Yeah. One things is sending an employee a birthday card, old fashioned card through the mail with the gift card or something. It just changes the dynamics. It might be the only card that they got, but you'll get the text message that says, "Oh my God, thank you so much for the card and the gift. It was so thoughtful." I mean, I get those every day, because so those things make a big difference. And I do that with customers. I do that with business partners because it's a way of staying on top of mind without selling. You don't need to always be selling. You always need to be closing, but you don't always need to be selling.
The more communication you can have, especially when you don't have anything to sell, especially when the customer has nothing to give you. That's creating an authentic relationship. And you're right. Then people, when you do reach out and you do need something, people are not going to feel like, oh, Joe just always reaches out to me when he needs something. You all have people like that in your life. But when there's one of your friends that just keeps giving and giving and giving, when they do need something, you're happy to help them out.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, totally agree. I mean, what goes around comes around and comes back 10 times. So it's always, what you sow is what you reap.
So, Frederick, say someone's read the book and, but maybe they skimmed it and they're trying this out on by themselves. What are some common mistakes that you've seen people that probably want to try to do this, but maybe they just did it wrong by implementing it?
Well, excellent question. In the book, each chapter, when you get to the end of a particular chapter, there is a section which basically calls, and you can't see it, but there's a section here that gets into how do you rate yourself on a scale of 0 to 10 for that chapter. The difference also that I did is the book is really designed to be an action guide. So that's why I call it, it's a playbook, because it gives you the steps and the recommended tools per each chapter on what to use and how to do it. Then when you score yourself, you go to the what we call the Superfans scorecard wheel. All right, it's a dartboard, and you take the numbers, and it's all the chapters. So gratitude, prospecting, follow up, thank you, birthdays, appreciation, recognition, retention, the unexpected, reviews, and referrals, and you start dotting where you're at. And then you connect the dots, and most likely most people have a dilapidated wheel. It's not exactly perfectly round. Well, then in here, and this is a free thing that you can get off of the businesssuperfans.com website. It's also in the book, but this is the bigger version. And you can read it because the book makes it kind of small. But then it tells you steps to do. And there is a guide of what you need to do. So, action steps, who's responsible, deadline, resources, barrier, and the results of that all into here so to help you improve your score. So the whole thing is designed to really not just be something that you read and go, oh, a great book, put it on a shelf and you never pick it up. It's going to be, oh, great book. What do I need to do for, appreciation? And whether it's a customer, an employee, or a business partner, it's all in that one chapter. So it's also designed as where was that section? No, I want to improve my thank you. I go to the thank you chapter. I mean, it's not what they're called, but that's the thank you chapters. Thank you builds a bond of trust. Appreciation, create an environment of appreciation, give them what they crave, recognition. And so each chapter contains everything you need to do. And then also, I'm launching the Business Superfans Accelerator community, where people will be able to reach out to me, and I'll be basically keeping them accountable to help them accomplish just what you said is how do people do, and they're not sure. Well, they'll be able to reach out to me directly, and I'll guide them.
Frederick, you've been doing sales for a while, and for a lot of doctors, especially doctor entrepreneurs, sales is scary. What is your advice to someone that's starting to do sales? Maybe they have a product or service. They know it's good. the goal is to help as many people as possible. What would your advice be to a young person just starting their sales career?
Um, in the medical field?
Yeah, in the medical, say they're coach, so they're medical doctors, but they have something outside of medicine. So maybe they're a coach, maybe they have a book and they got to start selling it to publishing agents, just having to go out and sell themselves or their product.
It's really focus on the value that you're going to bring. That's really the bottom line. For example, the language and interpreting that the company I work with, we're creating a bridge of communications with people that are, may not be English proficient. So we help them communicate with agencies and get services and all that stuff. So it's really in that sale, the way I approach it is, imagine the audience that you could gain if you could have a means to communicate with the limited speaking English people, and all of a sudden they go, well, yeah, that could grow a whole nother area of my business. Well, here's a vehicle that using a smartphone, you can get to a live interpreter and get connected to one in less than 30 seconds through the service that we offer. How could you see yourself utilizing that? And now you get the person to start selling themselves and why and how that would benefit. That's really the art of it. If you're, I always tell, if you're dating and you got the pretty girl and you're chasing her, what is she doing? She's running away from you. Okay. If you stand there and provide, you make yourself attractive, she's coming towards you. So the same thing in sales, provide the value and how this is going to impact them in a positive way, and then get them to start selling themselves on.
Is there a part of the process where you bring in the pain points? Because, a lot of people, when they talk about sales, they try to think about, what are the negatives? Well, what is happening right now, or what can happen bad in the future if you don't buy the product?
Well, you can bring up pain points, but you want them to bring up the pain points. You don't want to bring up the pain points. You want them to recognize and bring up the pain points. So, turn around and say, okay, imagine, and imagine is a very powerful sales word because it gets them into that mindset. A lot of salespeople use that word, but it really should be used a lot more because it changes the dynamics of the conversation because you're no longer selling, you're getting them to, and like you said earlier, people buy emotionally. So you get them to think about it emotionally. So, you know, imagine, my companionette girlfriend slash, companion, etc. She sells hearing aids and, over the phone, and she uses the word imagine. Her and I've talked, and she uses that strategy. And it really is, just imagine you being in a crowd and how would it be like to be able to hear what other people are saying without having to read lips and all that stuff. And they go, well, yeah, that would be terrific. Well, what else would that help benefit you? And the negative points really don't necessarily need to come up because they're coming up with all the reasons why it would help them.
Yeah, love it. So, one last question I ask everyone. If
Mhm.
there was something that you wish you would have spent more time or money in when you first started sales or entrepreneurship, what would that be?
Good question. It'd be if I'd spend more time, it would probably be learning more and taking additional sales classes and staying current. Staying current, I think, is important because things change, much faster. And don't be afraid of change and don't get stuck into if you're using one tool to manage your sales process and there's a better tool that comes along, jettison the old one, pick the better one because it's going to pay you dividends much faster. And that took me a little while to grasp. And your thing I'd say that was I'll share one last quick story, which will make the point of, is when I first started in sales, all I had to do was get this company to re-sign the lease on this technology that they were using. That was it. That was my job. I went there. They started asking me questions about different competitors and all that stuff. And all I did was talk about all the negative stuff of all the competitors. And I lost the sale. And they were an existing customer for several years. And my district manager was not happy with me and made me go get the equipment myself and bring it back as punishment. But I had the wherewithal to ask the company. And basically they said, why did they pick a competitor? He says, well, you never said anything good about your company. The competitor talked about, yeah, you're a great company, but here's how we can solve some of your problems. And all you were doing is all the negative stuff and all the pain points. And so, I learned that, fortunately, in my career, I learned it early on. So if I could share anything, is don't do that.
Is there two questions? Is there any sales, of course, your book, but any other sales trainings that you would recommend? And number two, how do you stay current now?
Okay. I highly recommend Dale Carnegie. It's a great program. I took the public speaking and relations program, which really, as an engineer, which is what I was years ago, I never spoke in front of anybody. I never spoke to anything, so that really changed me. And so I highly recommend that program. And also the management one. If somebody's in management, they got a great management program, which is different than what you learn in a lot of other places. Really, it's managed by objectives, and you get that person or employee to create their own goals and objectives for their job, and you just hold them to it because they're the ones that said, "This is how I plan on doing this, and I want to accomplish this." Okay, we'll write this down. We'll tweak a couple of things to fit what the company needs, but now I'm going to keep you accountable to what you said you want to do. That's my job. It makes it easy, and they own it. And how do I keep current? I'm always reading stuff. So you've always got to be researching and finding different tools and such. And like I said earlier, if you take a look at, if you're using a CRM, you should take a look and see what every so often, take a look at what else is out there, because all of a sudden you might find out that there's a newbie that may not be well known, but they got really cool ideas. And, that might be a way to go because it's ahead of its curve. So I incorporated AI software a long time ago because that was where technology was going. And so I was ahead of the curve.
Awesome. Well, Frederick, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate it. And again, thank you for the opportunity to chat. And it was a pleasure. And if anybody's looking for more information on the book, they can go to businesssuperfans.com. That's businesssuperfans.com.
Awesome. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening. If you have any questions or would like to follow me, please sign up for my newsletter at FromMD.com.